Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be another Paintisode. Unfortunately, I missed the one last week because I was having computer issues. Hopefully, it's all going to be working here today. Part of this is actually, to make this thing work, it turned out the battery I had was actually interfering with my computer, so I'm now running it without a battery. So if I unplug this, my computer will die like a radio. So hopefully that won't happen. But anyway, what these Paintisodes are all about is the whole thing is supposed to be you pull out some models to paint, I have some models to paint, and I'm just going to be talking about whatever. If you guys have things you want me to talk about, post it on up. I'll be looking for that. Ooh. Hey there, this is Malorian, and by the way, from what you just heard right there, to try and make sure, because there is a huge stupid lapse between this, like 10 minutes, I will be going back over and refreshing to try and get to your questions sooner. But anyway, yeah, pull out your paints and let's get started. I am actually going to be today painting up some dwarves, but they're not the Games Workshop dwarves. They're not Mantic. These are actually the Privateer Press stuff, and they're just basically these heavily armored guys with these kind of like steampunk axes, and they got these backpacks on. Why do they need backpacks? I have no idea. You don't know. It's not like all the other ones have backpacks, but apparently these guys need prepared. But that's what I'll be doing. I'm not even going to get them finished. There's no way. I got 10 of them here. I'm just hoping to get the first base coats on these guys. But I do already have a question from Luke Davis. And what it is here is, Mel, you read the recent stuff surrounding End of Times today and Harry's rumors of resetting 9th edition. Thoughts? I did read that, and that was really interesting because Harry is one of these guys where if he posts up, you can really trust what he says. And part of it that really didn't sound like Harry, though, is a whole thing of, oh, look at how I made this post before, I gave you guys hints. It was kind of like an I told you so type thing, where he had kind of hinted about the end of times before, blah, blah, blah. But he talked about that as well, about how GW isn't really selling many models, and the best way that they can start selling models is by kind of doing a reboot. And, you know, some armies might not be viable anymore, other ones whatever, but that's the way that they're going to be able to sell models, is basically just by reinventing themselves. And as soon as I started reading into that, I really had to start taking it with a grain of salt, because it really would be a huge risk. So far, what GW is able to do is every now and then they just remake the rules slightly. You know, it doesn't even need to be a huge change. I mean, look at the Grey Knights, right? They just have to do something and rehash the same old stuff if they have to, and people will have to buy it because that's the new, more up-to-date book. And if you want to be legal at a tournament, you need to be based off that book. So they're basically printing money, and it's has worked for them so far. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about how things now aren't working so great for them, and they're probably going to want to try and find another way around it, but the whole idea about how they'd be just rebooting the entire system, and it just doesn't really seem like something they do. But then again, this End of Times book really surprised everyone as well, right? All of a sudden, a huge surge forward in the fluff, and these big changes, and yeah, it's pretty nuts. With this, too, is also the rumors about 9th, and apparently we're supposed to be seeing posters coming out this weekend already, and pre-sales being set up and all the rest of it, and that would be pretty crazy. And there's a lot of people that say that is going to happen, a lot of people who say it's not going to happen. One of the arguments for why it's not going to happen is because they're just doing this whole thing now at the End of Times. There's going to be multiple books, and why would you do 9th edition right in the middle of these books? Well, to me, that doesn't really stop them from doing anything. I mean, really, all these things that they have in this first book, right, about going to 50% lords and all the rest of it, you can introduce it and then just solidify it, right? So really just kind of like they're setting you up with a big change and then actually making legit, basically. but I really don't think that the fact that they are not done the series of books stops them from doing an edition change. Now, for the people saying that it is going to be happening, they're saying stuff like the inventory for the current starter sets, the Island of Blood, that's or Isle or whatever, those are now not being restocked anymore. They're being set to 0, and it definitely is a type of thing you'd see if they are preparing to bring in a new starter set. And then there's all these rumors about how it's going to be Bretonnians and the undead and all the rest of it. And so, yeah, just really, really interesting stuff. And the best thing about these rumors is that there's a date to it. It's not like, oh, in the future, I'm pretty sure something might be happening with Bretonnians. I heard a guy that said this, that said that. They're saying it's this weekend that things are going to start coming up. And so we'll know. I mean, it's one of these things where I just can't wait for the weekend even more than normal because I just want to see if this is true or not. And the way that GW has been lately where, you know, surprise, we have this whole entire massive line come out for End of Times, you just really never know what else they could have up their sleeve. You know, they could be really capable of anything at this point. So, I don't know, well, it's kind of scary too. You know, it's one of those things where End of Times, you know, in the beginning of End of Times, I had that in my video there, that at first I was kind of really against it, and all the things I heard about I was against, but the more I kind of talked to other people and gave it deeper thought, the more I liked it. So I'm sure the same will be for Ninth. You know, you first hear some things, and oh, that'll be horrible, oh, what are they thinking? And then really when you put all the pieces together, it's not really all that bad, but we won't know till we see it. And we already got 7 viewers. That's awesome. By the way, I said in previous videos I'm not going to do any War Machine questions, but if you guys are War Machine guys, and that's who's watching, you might as well answer them if you're here. So let's see what else we got for posts here. We got one here from Chocolate of Darkness saying GW seems to be working more towards making money and satisfying shareholders than towards creating lasting and original new products. Well, as far as original, I mean, this last book here, they did have 2 new units. They did really kind of, instead of just rehashing the fluff, they really pushed it forward. I mean, really, it's hard for us because we're always going to see the negative and assume that they're just doing this to make a buck, and really because it's true. I mean, they're a company and they're trying to make money. They're not going to be making decisions that's going to just outright make them lose money, go bankrupt. So that's always going to be an underlying motive of theirs. However, I don't have this super negative view of GW, right? It's more of a cautionary feel where these guys are in completely control of a game I love, and at any time they have the power to completely screw it over. So every single time they make a change, I'm just there worrying that's going to be something really, really bad. And, you know, I'm not saying they have been doing everything perfect, right? They have definitely made mistakes in the past, and I'm sure they'll make mistakes in the future. It's all about hoping it's not going to be anything super crushingly bad. Had another question here from Nick Fensky saying, just almost finished a unit of Best Friends. Love these. Best Friends. I wonder what those are going to be. I wonder if that's he's talking about. He has the new Horseman there from the End of Times. Yeah, it was really too bad I didn't get to make one of these for last time. You know, it's good for me too, right? Because not only do I hope, anyway, that you guys get something from this, because you have something to listen to while you paint, and you can get all, you know, some of your stuff painted up. But at the same time, it's usually when I get the majority of my painting done too. So, you know, the more of these do, the better. The more of these I do, the better off I am as well. These guys. They have this crazy armor where it's all in plates, and then they're holding this axe close to them, and they have like these armor plates going down their backside too. So there's some kind of wonky angles. And this brush I'm using is, it really is just this really, really crappy brush I use just for a first go. So it's kind of hard to get inside all the cracks and stuff, but I can always come back after. Always, too, I like hearing what you guys are working on. I'm guessing there's going to be quite a bit of people working on stuff for their vampire accounts or Tomb Kings or the new fancy models like Nagash and all the rest of those. One of the other things I was hearing about these books is I'm getting kind of confused because some people say one thing, some people are saying another. Some people are saying that there's going to be 4 books. Some people are saying there's only going to be 3. So where I was kind of hopeful, because the one bit of rumors I got is the last one could be Orcs and Goblins, and of course I'd be all for that. If they're only doing 3 books, well then that's supposed to be the current one, War or Chaos, and then Skaven. So either way, I mean, I don't even know what they'd even do if they redid a book for Orcs and Goblins. You know, is Grimgor finally going to die? Are they going to have some new crazy war bosses coming out? Are they going to kill off Crom? You know? I mean, you have these characters like Cetra that are supposed to be, you know, lasting forever and basically invincible in the GW lore, and then all of a sudden these new books come out and they just, all right, that's it for them. You know, Cetra's toast. It's just kind of like, what? What happened? So it's one of those things where if you have some special characters or some fluff you really like, you know, watch out. Although I gotta say, for my part, it wouldn't really affect me too badly if they decide to do that. You know, I like taking Grimgor sometimes because he's kind of crazy, but fluff-wise, you know, if he was to die and go away, it's not really that big of a deal. Oh, I see a new one here saying from Nice Mike, by the way. I've actually gone back to using the one on the webcam. The new one there, I did some more tests, and when I'm talking right here in front of it, it's pretty close. I'm sure if I really played with all the settings, I could make it better. But at this point, I just didn't have time to really get it too finicky and right. So when it's nice and close, I can just use the one that's on my webcam. The biggest thing where that mic's going to come into handy is when I do the actual games where I have the camera up above, because then the mic is really far off. You don't get the same quality. And the first time I'm going to get to try this is actually Wednesday. I have somebody who's going to be coming over. He's going to be making a Nagash army at 2,000 points, and we're going to see how that goes. So, kind of a funny story for that one. I make a post on the Facebook group saying, hey, you know, I'm trying to get a game against the new Nagash book. Who out there is up for a game? And right away, I have a guy that says, me, I'll play that game. I'm like, that's great. And we start working out where we're going to have it and how many points. And then kind of at the end, he kind of says, oh, by the way, I don't have the book. What? You kind of need to have the book to play the game. So he says he's going to be able to have time to buy the book. And, I mean, that can be tough because there's a lot of places that are sold out of the book. And he has to find it. He has to read it. He has to be able to process it to make an okay list. Although, really, for the most part, you could make it pretty easily. I mean, how hard is it to make a 2,000-point army when 1,000 of your points is just Nagash? Okay, there's half of it done already, right? Figure out what you want to do for your 25% core, throw in whatever stuff you want for fun, army, done, good to go. So that shouldn't be an issue as long as he actually has the time to get the book and read it over. Read the rules. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that get the book and they get stuck just reading the fluff, right? Book 1, you start with that. You see all the crazy stuff that's changed. Not everybody's like me where they just skip straight to the rules. Oh, I put way too much paint on this hammer. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got War General T saying that they're working on homework. You know, that's fine. That's fine. If you're working on homework and I'm giving you that to, you know, you got some white noise, I got me yapping in your ear while you do homework, that's all right. That's fine. Depending what your homework is, I might be able to help you. Depending what it is, you might really not want my help. What else we got here? Quite a bit, actually. This is actually way better looking at it from this other window here. One from Grant the Zombie saying, "Hello, Mr. Malorian. I was wondering if you could make suggestions for a new Ogre Kingdom player. Also new to fantasy as well. Tips for 2,400 points to 3,000 would be great. Also, painting Noblars. Ooh, that's one of those things where you have to do it because you want those Noblars, but it takes for frickin' ever. Well, one of the things you kind of want to realize when you're new to fantasy and new to ogres is that war machines are not your friend, and in general, shooting isn't your friend. You're these big fat ogres. You have 3 wounds instead of the 1 that most guys have. You have toughness 4, which can be nice, but then again, look at my orcs or beastmen or warriors of chaos. You know, toughness 4 isn't really a huge deal. So you have to realize that you can really lose a lot of wounds quick, and they can die really quick. So what you really want to look for is ways that you can focus your force, and also look where you can mitigate for that armor. So, you know, if you can cast the spells that give regeneration. Of course, people love Mournfang because they're able to go out there and have your awesome armor save. I mean, don't go for the great weapons when you're on the Mournfang. You already have enough good attacks. Make sure you get some armor in there. Go for the Iron Fist. But really, leadership is also an issue. So when you're looking at your characters, you're going to want to go for, usually I'd say 2. If you're going to 3,000, you can go for 3. But at the lower level, I like just going for 2. You'll have the BSB, and you will have your Slaughtermaster. Because you only have the 1 wizard, it's going to have to go with the lore of the Maw. And past that, you want some big blocks. You want a big, huge horde, and you're going to want to decide actually whether you're going to go for the horde and either go for, you say, like, you know, the 18 bulls or 18 iron guts, or if you're going to play the character game. And I would say that in the beginning, and by the way, what I mean by that is that you can make your ogres just 3 wide. That will count as a rank, and your characters, if you have full command, can hide in the 2nd rank and then pop up, and he's forced to attack characters, and you can screw him over in that way. But I think as a new player, you're best off going with not going for that because you don't really know how to build your characters. I go for more of the units. And unfortunately, it might be even better for you in the beginning not to even worry about making those power units, but by just taking a little bit of everything. Because if you're new to fantasy, you have to learn all those rules. And, you know, I can tell you, just go take 3 hordes and you'll win. But really, if you want to be competitive and not be outmaneuvered by other players and get frustrated, you have to learn how the game plays. Now, don't go out and waste your money on things you're probably not going to use after. Maybe go check out some internet lists, go ask your friends and, you know, people that you can trust. But, you know, I'd hate for you to go out and buy a bunch of Yetis and a scrap launcher and all these things, Hunter, and then not use them in your final list. It's one thing to have, let's say, 3 units of 6 bulls and get some more practice about how you do the movement, how you outflank, how you do all the rest of it, and then be able to decide later, oh, do I want to make this a larger bus? Do I want to go horde? What do I want to do with it? But at least, you know, bulls and iron guts and Mournfang and even lead belchers, you're probably going to be using in the end. It's kind of tough. I mean, I'm kind of telling you how to learn the game and play ogres at the same time. Really, what you should do is just play orcs and goblins. That's what you should really do. Then we can talk. In the end, too, I mean, you got to ask yourself, what are you even playing the game for, right? Maybe you're a player like Materium, and you're more for the fluff story, right? You just want to have something that you can have something to throw dice for and have some beers and play some friends. You know, if that's what you're looking for, you know, then maybe that is what you want to do. Just get whatever units you think look cool, throw them down, learn the game, and have some fun. But otherwise, if it is you want to get in there and you want to be competitive, you're probably going to want to go with one big huge block where all your characters are going to go in. You have to decide whether you want that to be bulls or iron guts. You're going to have 2 iron blasters in the back. You're going to have either 2 or 3 characters. If it's 3, the third one is going to be a fire belly, and then that will allow you to go for a better lore onto your Slaughtermaster. If you are going for the character bus, you're going to want to set up those characters that have things like the Fencer Blades and all the ward saves and the Stubborn Crown and all that good stuff. And really, that could be a really super long topic, so I think I better go on to the next one. Nick Fensky saying, aren't you sad Luke Davis didn't name his newborn son after you? Yes, I am devastated. No, I would never expect someone to name their newborn son after me. We didn't even name our own kids after me. So, I mean, how can I expect anybody else to do that? Scrolling up. So here's another one from Luke Davis saying, even though I am an undead lover, Vamps is core, or at core, I'm working on Dark Elf's Night until I see where 9th edition and End of Times land. I don't want another Storm of Magic. I'm with you, Mal. I want 9th edition to solidify the rules so that we'll all be on the same page. 50% Lords or not, and agree more Orcs and Goblins. Yes, always the Orcs and Goblins. And it's one of these things, too, where if 9th isn't going to be right away, go and talk to your tournament organizers. You know, I tried stressing this in my video, and you know what? Some people, it was interesting seeing. In the week where I was not able to make that video for the Nagash book, I was getting it all the time, saying, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? And then I actually finally posted up, and I actually got a lot of complaints because it's not like my usual book reviews, right? Normally I go through and I'm talking about all the stats and a lot more focus on the tactics. However, this one comes across a lot more like a campaign book. I know it's not a campaign, so I mean you don't need to burn me on that one, but the big thing is that if you look at the wording, it's not really set in stone. And so what you really need to do is go and talk to your tournament organizer, right? There's no reason why you should be getting all freaked out and worried about 2 Nurgle Demon Princes and this, that, and other thing if they're not going to allow it in tournaments. I mean, right now, there's lots of talks going on, just the people here, right, about what rules they're going to allow. Are they going to do the 50% in tournaments? Are they going to allow that army? Are they going to allow the special characters? You know, what type of missions will be fair, blah, 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 blah. And it's really going to be area by area. And in the end, I mean, my bet, and the way that I see it, is that they worded it to be loose, saying you can and if you like, because they want you to try it out, and then 9th will have those rules, more than likely. So at this point, they're not trying to change the game with a book, which, I mean, here's another thing, too, to keep in mind. How is it fair that the core dynamics of a game changes because of this one side book? That'd be something like if they released a new Orcs and Goblins book and it says in there, oh, by the way, you can now take 75% special. And the problem with doing that is that what happens to all the players who don't buy the Orcs and Goblins book? Why should that book be changing the core mechanics of the game? And so that's kind of my argument of why I don't feel that the rule changes they say in there, like, oh, armies are made with 50% lore. I don't believe, lords rather, I don't believe that's meant to be applying to everything. I think it's meant to be applying to the armies that you make while doing those End of Times games. And then when 9th edition comes out, then they'll solidify everything and say, okay, now it is this, it is that. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Another one here from War General T saying, just noticed you mentioned 2,000 points, and I've also seen back rep at those points for Nagash. Why at the level and not higher, like whatever? I actually had one person say, hey, you want to do a 10,000 point game with Nagash? I think the reason why people are starting off with 2,000 is because that's the smallest you can do it. With the Nagash being 1,000 and being allowed to go 50%, 2,000 is the smallest you can go, and still play it. And there's two benefits to this. One, for the people playing, it'll keep the game small enough that you can better learn it. If you are throwing in all your stuff and trying to learn one thing in particular new, you kind of get distracted and thrown off by everything else that you can't really focus on the new pieces. For the Vampire Count player, they like it smaller because there'll be less war machines, right? Smaller game means fewer models, and that means there'll be less threats to Nagash. And as well, your magic is being more of an effect. So if I raise up a Terrorgeist and it's a 10,000 point game, it's like, oh, okay, well that's good for you, but it's not a huge deal. If we're playing 2,000 points and you just raise up a Terrorgeist, that's a big deal. Now, that being said, the guy I'm playing on Wednesday, do I think that he's trying to game it? No. Like I said, he hasn't even read the rules yet, and so I'm sure he just wants to keep it simple. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these end-of-time games being so small like that. In the end, they will go back to being bigger, right? I'm sure after this I'll be doing either 2,400 or 3,000 or whatever. Chris the Conqueror saying, I'm going to kill all the orcs one day. Good luck. Ain't going to happen. There's too many. I'll be at their helm trying to protect them. From Chris the Conqueror. What else we got here? We have Adonisnik saying airbrushing the high elves. 6 more days until next tourney. Get an airbrush Balurian. I had one. I actually gave it away just because it's not my style. I had an airbrush. I was painting Tyranids, which are perfect for using an airbrush for, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It'd be like, I got to put the paint in, and I got to water it down, and then I'll have to clean it after. To hell with it. I'm really lazy, and I'm not really a super painter anyway, so, But he also says, you won't regret the time, the look, the ease of it. I'm so lazy. Like, you don't realize how lazy I am. All right. Oh. Trying to see how we're doing for time and so forth. We're doing pretty good. Where I've gotten from my painting so far is that I have at least the base color on all of my dwarves here, so that'll be pretty nice. Now I'll probably do the backpacks next because that's pretty easy. Big brown backpack and all their backs. Okay, I want to talk about tournament stuff here, but before I do that, I also want to talk about high elves as it comes to the 50%, because that's actually an army I'm excited for the change. As you guys probably know, I run a monster high elf list that's all based off phoenixes and dragons and all that good stuff. And I've always wanted to fit in something else cool, but I just didn't have the points for it. I have a separate phoenix that has Caradrian on it, and I just can't fit it in. Well, now with all the changes here, I'm hoping that as well in 9th, you won't only be allowed 50% lords, you'll be allowed 50% heroes, and it's going to be awesome. But unfortunately, when I started thinking about this, it's like, oh, this will be so cool. I could get in a second Dragon Lord. I could maybe get another hero. I could do this. I could do that. Then you realize, oh, yeah, those points have to come from somewhere. And I can't drop my core. My core is already at 25%. So the only place it can come from is my rare, and that's my phoenixes, my frost phoenixes, and I don't want to lose those guys. So, whereas, I still believe the threat of double Nurgle Demon Prince is very real and something we're going to see. One of the things to keep in mind when you're doing all the math hammer and theory hammer, rather, is that these points have to come from somewhere. And, I mean, for the demon player, Warrior's a Chaos player. Maybe they're going to drop their 2 Chimeras, right? Maybe they'll do that. Maybe they're going to drop a unit of Skull Crushers. I don't know. But just realize that those points do have to be coming from somewhere. It's not just like you get a free 25% extra for your lords there. So we'll see. I mean, in my high elf list, I do have that silly Griffin. And so if I drop him, and I don't know what else I can finagle, but I'm hopeful that I can try and get some other cooler character in there. Because really, the Griffin is only there right now because I have to. So if I could get a better monster in there, that'd be nice. And Cadrian on a Phoenix is so deadly because he's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't characters. You just fly him into a unit, and especially one with a character, and you issue that challenge, and either you go first and you have always strike first with multiple wounds, and you kill that character, or you fail. They kill Cadrian, and then they take D3 wounds as the curse, and you probably kill them then anyway. So, and then in the end, if they don't kill the Frost Phoenix, you didn't give up any points. So, kind of a nice little combination there. But you don't normally see it because if you want to do that, I believe that comes from your lords, or is that the heroes? No, I think that's a hero choice. I think it's actually the anointed. If you want to do that guy, he's the lord version. I don't know. Just one of those things I always wanted to do but couldn't. See if you have any more questions here. Stop refreshing it. No, nothing new. Still, the top one is still Chris telling me how he's going to kill all the orcs. So, talking about tournaments, we have a tournament, Onslaught, coming up in October, and they are doing Fantasy, and they are also doing War Machine. And unfortunately, it's both on the same day as always. Well, actually, they're on both days. Both of them are 2-day events. There's a huge debacle going on for the 40K stuff about, what's going to be allowed, because if you think this whole thing with the End of Times is confusing and a big debate for the fantasy guys, man, 40K is still a huge mess for allies and data sheets and escalation or whatever it's called, where you can mix whatever you want, and Forge World approved and terrain, and oh man. So whenever there's every single time there's a new tournament, it's always this huge debate about what's going to be allowed and why, and that's usually the worst thing that you can do as a TO, is try and defend your decision. If you as a TO just comes out and just say, you know what, this is what's being allowed, done, deal with it. What can people say? I mean, they can grumble, rah, 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 rah. They can decide they're not going to go if they don't want, but if you go on there and you actually say, we're not going to be allowing this because of this reason, and we're actually going to be allowing this one because of this reason, then they actually have things to attack. And if they weren't going to go to the event, they're not going to go anyway, and all it does is open up this huge, huge fight. And unfortunately, the TO doesn't even need to even start this a lot of times, because people will grumble about it on the Facebook or wherever it's on, Warseer or anywhere, and then somebody will come on to defend the TO and say, well, he did it probably because of this, and no, that's stupid because don't you realize this? No, this is more broken than that. And that's where my fears come for 9th. Is just seeing that huge mess in 40K and what a fight it is every single time. As far as the Nagash book goes, for the fantasy side, it wasn't on the list. So they have a list that says all the armies that are going to be allowed for the tournament, and that one wasn't on there, the Armies of Undeath. Now, this TO has been known to change his mind, so maybe they'll go back on after, but whereas things like Chaos Dwarves are on the list, the Undead armies were not. And I did see somebody bring up, are we going to go with a 50% Lord still? And last time I saw, there was no answer on that. So, I mean, if they say yes to that, and it will be 50% Lords, I mean, this is where I think a lot of the jank is going to start coming out. It's a 2,400 points, and that easily gives you what you need. I mean, with 1,200 points for Lords to bring two really crazy, stupid things. And unfortunately, there just aren't enough people playing Empire with cannons or the Dwarf gun lines to keep them in check. I'm hopeful that my idea with 8 war machines for my orcs and goblins, that they'll be able to do it, but still, they're probably going to be ripping up the field pretty good. Have not been seeing any new comments here for a bit. Lots of views. Oh, why am I seeing this on the other side? Oh. Unfortunately, there's just aren't enough people. That's weird. I'm refreshing the actual page. Oh, now it's putting the new ones on the bottom? Ah, stupid. All right, we have ones here from Grant the Zombie. First one here saying, well, that's the one who was asking about the Ogre Kingdoms. Then he says, thanks for the tips. I play 40K competitively for 5 years and want to try fantasy because of Team YouTube. Hey, are so fun to watch. Miss Warhammer Weekly. So the goal is competitive. I'm going to open this up because it's a longer one. I was also thinking of starting to game with my vampire accounts. I just like to paint them, but getting 400 zombies painted will take 2 years. Ogres, I like the fluff playstyle and low model count. That's definitely, yeah, an ease to transport. That definitely is a really nice thing for the ogres. I mean, back when I had an ogre army, I kept that thing in a shoebox, and I mean, they're all plastic. The way that I ran it, because I just had 3 hordes and then my characters. Of course, I stopped playing that army because it was so boring the way I made it, but definitely it's something you can paint up very quickly, not many models, fairly cheap as well to get the army put together, depending on how you make it, and they can still be very, very, very competitive. So definitely a wise way to go. I'll actually clean off my brush. Also, do own a Night Goblin, I assume that's especially Morheim warband, and all Nagash is awesome. Yeah. Like, you probably don't really need to have 400 zombies, but really that is something with vampire counts. And now, with, like I said, with this new End of Times, you have to bring so many more models with you. Because it's not just like, well, okay, I might be raising up a few more skeletons. You never know if you're going to be wanting to raise up a chariot or war machine or anything. You literally have to have 2 or 3 armies worth of models with you just in case what way you decide to go. You know, especially if you're running Nagash and he's bringing up triple what you can normally do. Then all of a sudden you can have like these massive units of zombies created in one go. I mean, people talk about how crazy the one unit could be. Well, what happens if you cast that 2 turns in a row? You know, it's crazy the amount of models that you could potentially need, and then given all the combinations, you just need to bring everything. So again, that is the reason why I sold my vampire accounts, is because I saw that trap coming, and I knew that if I didn't get rid of it, I'd be sucked down that rabbit hole. And you know, after the divorce proceedings from me making us go bankrupt, I would probably greatly regret my decision. So yeah, the vampire accounts had to go. Yeah, now that I know that you do want to go competitive ogres, of course you want to look at some of the other things you always see with ogres. And now that you're going to have these Nagash model stuff too, Hellheart, pretty much always take item. That thing is so great. I mean, it really is better than a spell scroll. Normally, it's the 1+ item to take. Well, not 1 plus, 1 always, is the Dispel Scroll. But this one here not only stops a spell, it typically stops an entire phase because they generate their power dice for the turn. You pop the Hellheart, you make 2 of their wizards miscast, they lose 2d6 dice, and that's usually all they got going for them. So it's still nice to have a scroll. So if you do go with the 2 characters, or rather 3 characters, so you have 2 mages, then you'll want the second one to be the Dispel Scroll. But otherwise, I'd probably side with the Hellheart first. Plus, you never know. I mean, not only you're shutting down spells, you might be killing wizards. Could be killing their general, depending on what the character is. If they're blowing up, you're blowing up whatever units they are in. Damn that Hellheart. Actually, the one time where I like seeing the Hellheart is when I'm playing dwarves. And I love seeing the sad face of those ogres going, oh, I don't get to use my Hellheart. This isn't fair. Yeah, whatever. Maybe I should have some sort of item where I just have to walk up and I'll just pop it on a whim, and all models that have 3 or more wounds automatically take D3 wounds. You know, that seems fair. Stupid Hellheart. No, I'm not bitter. Even me, you know, I only run 1 character, but even that's enough to devastate my army. You know, I lose the magic phase, my bunker blows up, sometimes he dies, and of course, because I'm just all about all risk all the time, sometimes that means my general's dead, and then that's really bad times for the orcs and goblins. Now I remember the thing I was going to talk about with these guys for tournaments is, so I'm not sure still whether I'll be doing the fantasy or the War Machine. I'm pretty sure if they are going to say 50% Lords, I will go War Machine for sure. But some of the guys are complaining because, oh, we have to have painted models when it's War Machine. I mean, that's a standard thing for fantasy, but it's not so much for War Machine. And it's silly because all you need to have is 3 colors. Well, what have I done here for these 10 guys? I've made them, let's switch over so I can see what I'm showing. I've made them so they're all green. I made a brown backpack. If I just do the skin for the face, they're legal. That's all I really need to do. It's so little work. All right, maybe it's actually better if I actually follow this stuff here. So we have one here from Dark CT saying, kill orcs. All this stuff involving a new edition fills me with concern, but who knows at this point? I've been impressed as of late. And that's true. You know, they've done, back when they were doing all the 8th edition books, it was good book after good book after good book. So, and then they do this Army Nagash, where again, for the most part, it's just really, really good. So, looking at that, you know, if that was their resume and they were applying to make 9th edition, I'd be like, okay, I'll go for that. I'll hire you on. Over here, we have Chris the Conqueror again saying, wait, what are you painting? I missed the start of this. Is that a dwarf on a round? What's happening? Yeah, these are War Machine models. They're from the mercenary faction. And, yeah, they're these dwarves covered in armor with these big, huge, like, servo hammers, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty slow, so you have to kind of engage with the rest of your army while you slowly catch them up. And they have a cool thing, too, where you don't see this in fantasy so much, but in War Machine, something have crit effects. So if you hit, and it's on a 2d6 system, and you have doubles, well, crit can do extra stuff. You might light a guy on fire or whatever, but these guys have crit smite. So not only do you hit the model that you just hit, but you send them flying, and they might kill all their models as well. So, you know, they're pretty fun. They're pretty good. They also hit hard, so you can kill the big nasties. Another one here from Chris the Conqueror saying, back when Malorian had an ogre army, the undead legions had never split. Badun Cha. Yeah. Most people never saw this coming, too. The whole idea that, oh, yeah, we're going to have the undead join back together. People had talked about that now and then. It's just like how people talk about the Fishman army that people joke about now and then. But it was one of these things like, it's not really going to happen. Come on, guys. Nobody's really going to go and join the two undead armies back together. And now it happened. So who knows what else is going to go on. I know that all my friends that have Keslev models are pissed off. Because just like the guys that have Dogs of War, they were so hopeful that one day, if they hold on to these models, that they'll be legal again. And nope, they're all dead. According to Fluff, they're all gone. So the fluff that in the future they'd make a Keslev army, like, it's not going to happen now. One of the things I can say, though, is that if there is a 9th edition here, of course, I'm going to do the review, and hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, my computer won't die again, so I can actually do the full review for it and all that good stuff. But they were talking about before about Team YouTube, and you know what? We haven't done that Team YouTube stuff in a while, and I thought it'd be really good to pull the team together to talk about 9th. And, you don't want it to be super big, but I think it'd be nice to have everyone at the same time so that, I might come on here and start rambling about, this, and then once Benton can say, like, well, wait a second, do you realize you can do this now? Oh, wow, that's crazy. And then, Anthony would be like, oh, now you can do this broken crap. Rah, rah, rah. It'd be really fun to do that review together as a Google Hangout. Google Hangout has been kind of weird, though. Like I said, I tried doing the screen share when I was trying to do my Around the World in 12 games. Excuse me. And it just totally screwed up. Luckily, what I do is when I upload a video, right away I start watching for comments for the first about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I wait to see if there's anything super negative, because that's the best way to know. I mean, I'll go back and I'll check the video to make sure the sound uploaded and stuff like that. But other times it'll be something where something is completely out, right? I make a huge mistake, or maybe I check to make sure that there's volume, but I actually uploaded the wrong battle report or something like that, and I'll see it right away. And luckily for that one, because I was just going to upload it and go to bed, somebody said, like, oh, geez, it's all screwed up. And, of course, I go back and I check it, and it's doing the whole, screen within a screen super update, and stupid. How do I have paint scratched off from these models already? I only just painted this guy. Luckily, the scratch paint is where I'm about to add a different color anyway, but it astounds me sometimes how quickly these things chip. One of the Paintisodes a little whiles back, I think I called it a Fixisode or whatever, because my Gator army, it was all chipped to hell thanks to my son. And so I fixed all those up. I retouched up all the scratches. I fixed all the models, and I pulled them out for some games just this weekend here, and all of a sudden, what the hell? There's the scratches all over them already again. So you can never stay ahead of the curve there. So I'm going to reload this again, see if I can find anything else new. I really wish they would just load these up in order. I mean, at the top again, I'm still seeing Krista Conqueror saying he's going to kill all these orcs all one of these days. Krista Conqueror saying, can you link me the models? Sure. I can do that. If you ever want to try and find the Privateer Press stuff, just go to privateerpress.com, and in there they'll have their gallery, and I'll go straight to the mercenary units. Oh, there's so many mercenary units. I know this is making for very good listening right now. Pretend this is very, very interesting. Okay, and we're posting in the link. Ba-bam. There we go. Let's see if there's anything else new here. It was nice to have at the start there Luke Davis post up. He hasn't posted up for a while, so I'm guessing he's gone now. But Again, I mean, I always love when he makes his reports because they're always funny. He must be a busy guy, though. Clearly, with the new son, that's going to keep you busy. But not seeing anything new. Show more. All the questions. Cool. All right, so getting back to where we're at with these guys here. Yeah, at this point here now, I'm just going to start doing the silver that I do for the... I mean, he really is completely covered with armor, but wherever I decide it's supposed to be the thicker armor, say for like the helmet or whatever, then I'll put on the silver for that. I keep trying to tell people, right? I have some people that ask, like, oh, Malorian, can you tell me about shading and all this? Do not go to me for shading. Do not go to me for color theory, for anything like that. You know, that's the questions like that are for Kieran Dunlevy. He's the guy you want to talk about stuff like that. So many better painters than me. I really just make them so that they're good enough for the table. I've never been that cheap where I literally just, you know, dip it in 3 colors and call it a go. I just couldn't live with myself doing that. I had a friend that did do that. He would change up his army for every single tournament, and in case there's anyone watching who thinks they might know who I'm talking about, this is like 10 years ago, so it's nobody that's in the current meta. I haven't actually seen him in a long time. But this one time, you know, there's nobblers, and the one guy was talking about how tough it is to paint all those nobblers. Well, in one of the White Dwarfs, there was an article that let you make an entire nobbler army, and there's all these lucky ones and all this crazy stuff you can do with them. There's some sort of mount they could have too. I can't remember right now what that was, but crazy army. And he decided that he was going to go and play that for the tournament. And, I mean, you can't get your hand on that many nobblers in time, but what he could get his hands on in time were the starter set Night Goblins. And what he did for that was really just setting them up and spray painting them a color, be it yellow, be it blue, be it whatever. So it was this weird rainbow of an army when you looked at it. And then past that, just brown spear, silver at the top, I'm done. And it looked so bad. And the thing that kind of sucked is that it did so well. I think it was mainly just people just didn't know what was happening. And this is back in 7th edition, and one of the big advantages it had is that you could flee, and you could flee over your own guys, and you wouldn't be causing panic tests. It's just, you know, nobody really cared about anybody type thing was the idea or the fluff behind it. So you could flee wherever you wanted, set up flanks. You know, this is in 7th, so if you get flanked, you're basically screwed and dead. And, man, I mean, back in 7th, usually if you're even charged, you're losing and dead. I mean, just think of it. If I have a unit of Night Goblins, that would be charging a unit of Chaos Warriors, right? Well, it's only the guys in the front that are fighting. You only had ranks of 4 usually, so only 4 guys are fighting. So the guys who charge got to go first. So maybe those Night Goblins could sneak in a wound. There'd be no step up. If those 3 other guys didn't really, you know, do well with their attacks, it wasn't a big, you know, it was certainly plausible that the Night Goblins could be beating Warriors of Chaos back in 7th. And I'd love to see that coming back. I mean, some people didn't like that. They thought it was too powerful, the charge, and making them strike first. But man, did it make the movement phase ultra critical. I mean, really, until High Elves were given the Oi Strike first, you just did not want to stand there and take the charge. I mean, even as Dwarves, you better have some sort of character in there to keep you safe, because, man, even Dwarves get charged, lose by a few, and then you're looking at leadership, you know, 7 to try and hold. And that's not exactly what you want to have. But we'll see what else they change in 9th. There's so much stuff they can do. and I don't want to get too much into wish listing. I think everybody knows the things I'd like to see. If I could pick one thing, it's going to be a change, a meaningful change in the scenarios. Oh, man. I just do not have light in the right spot here, so it's hard to... Again, he's all like hunched over with this hammer with all these layers of armor. So I'm trying to get this stupid like inner thigh piece of armor. It's pretty damn hard to get to. But for time-wise, we've pretty much already gone an hour. There's no way I'm going to be done all these guys. I know the wife, we're finally getting through and watching the Game of Thrones. I know, we're really, really late on that, but I know she wants to be watching these, so here's what this guy is going to be basically ending looking like, and you can't even really see that, but I'm going to go through, see if there's any more last questions, and then really once we're done those questions, we'll probably call it a day for today. But again, I'm going to try and do this every single Monday. I don't know what time this is where you are, but really, this is the time I'm going to try and set up. For me, and Mountain Standard Time in Canada, I'm going to put my kids to bed at 8, and by around 8:30, I want to be starting on here. And anyway, oh, there we have Grant the Zombie saying that the novelers can have the pig mounts. That's right. And that's another thing that kind of pissed people off, is that he didn't actually have anything to convert these pig mounts. So if you know the noveler models, there's some where like one's piggybacking on the other one. It's like, yeah, those are my mounted guys. And everyone's kind of like groaning like, ah. I can't even believe he got away with it. I think most of the TOs now would just kick him out, but at the time. Anyway, we have another one here from Tyler Keller saying, gotta love Calgary weather. Yeah. It is September. It is snowing here today. It was a huge surprise, and welcome to Calgary. And I mean, I'm in Edmonton, and I thought like, wow, this is crazy. It's snowing. Calgary really got hit. So wherever you are in the world, be lucky that you're not in Canada. I mean, have somebody's post up there like from Siberia. You know nothing, Mal. Luke Davis saying, I'm here, Mal. Thanks for the kind words. Here's some more to talk about. Do you know or hear that? Sorry. Did you... Oh, no, everything updated. Did you hear the next book might be Malekith? Seriously. I love Dark Elves, but do they have the numbers to match Unified Chaos or Undead? Where'd that come from? He's supposedly going to get the Sword of Cain, but still, what units can they be thinking to add? No way they would unify the elves or anything. Very exciting. I mean, really, as far as like the fluff goes, okay, let's talk about this. As far as the rumors go, that was kind of more of possibly for the fourth book. Again, this one was the Undead. Next one's supposed to be Chaos, then Skaven, then something. And I mean, some people said it's supposed to be the elves. Some people said it's supposed to be the orcs. You know, all these different things going around. But can they unify the elves? I mean, at this point here, if you asked me that question a couple of months ago, it'd be like, no, GW is not going to join together the elves. This will never happen. This is ridiculous. But now, after I've seen what they've done with the End of Times, it certainly is on the table. What it seems to me is that GW has said, you know what, this canon that we stand by all the time, this thing is not unbreakable. We can go and we can change this. We can move on. Sure, people believe that, you know, high elves hate dark elves and, you know, vampires hate tomb kings. But guess what? You know, just like in 40K, where suddenly Necrons and Blood Angels can work together and be buddies, we can do this here too. And we can move things forward, and we can change the game to be whatever we want it to be. And kind of going with what Harry was saying about how right now people aren't buying models, right? If you're a high elf player, you're a high elf player. If you're a dark elf player, you're a dark elf player. And maybe if a new book comes out, you buy the new little toy, but that's it. Whereas if they go and say, okay, whatever fluff reason they have, the two forces join together, well, all of a sudden, high elf players are buying dark elf things. Dark elf players are buying high elf things. And I mean, they can make up whatever they want to make this work. Maybe Malekith brings up whatever to show that he is a true king. For those who don't know how the fluff was before, basically there's like this fire you're supposed to walk through to kind of prove your acceptance, and he was lit on fire. So that's why he's covered in this armor to basically protect his charred body. But maybe he goes back. He's like, I'm going to prove to you that I am the true leader, and he just walks through it. And the Hiles be like, well, okay, I guess he is. And it could be, they could say that whoever didn't support, they killed, blah, blah, blah. But they can make it work, right? GW can write whatever they want to make it happen. So we'll have to just wait and see. There's no other way about it. Grant Zombie saying about Nagash, it's a smart move on GW to bring an iconic villain to the table, force competitive players to buy Undead, and make Tomb Kings and VC players extremely happy, similar to 40k and demon summoning. The new models, like the steeds, are on my wish list. And that's, it is, I mean, going from this, I mean, you have the negative people saying like, oh, this is just DW is trying to get money from us. But from the GW side, wow, this really was a very good move for them, because it's just one of these things where, hey, you know what? Everybody has access to this lore, and that means it doesn't matter if you're a Beastman player or an Orc player or a Lizardman player, you can raise up Undead. So you might want to go buy some. You know, you don't have to, but one of the things I can even say there too, where it makes it so I'm not really negative against GW, is that it's not broken. When you have Nagash casting that spell where it's 3 times the range and 3 times the numbers, that's insane. And if that was what everybody had access to, I would say, okay, now they're really just forcing models, and you really have to use power creep, blah, 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 blah. But the way it is it's not overpowered, right? You can't just raise a Terrorgeist every turn. You need to have the tokens built up first, so you actually could raise up a Terrorgeist. You have to actually get a cast, blah, 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 blah. And at the same time, currently in these lores, we have things like Purple Sun, like Foot of Gork, like Dwellers Below, all these mega spells that you can't really compare to raising up skeletons or raising up some chariots and say, oh, wow, those chariots are breaking the game. Because if they didn't raise up that unit of chariots, they'd be sending a Purple Sun down your ranks. So something to keep in mind. So yeah, I mean, it really is one of those things where, like I said in my video, I'm very happy that I actually had that week off, that I didn't make that video. Because if I was to make the video the day it came out, I would be one grumpy, jaded guy. I'd be like, this is bull. Stupid GW forcing us to buy this book, forcing us to buy these models, blah, 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 blah. And now I got to cool down. I got to talk to VC players, talk to TK players, talk to just whatever gamers, and realize that everyone is just really enjoying this book and this idea so far. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of conversion ideas where maybe they're not going to be actually buying those undead models, but they're going to be trying to change their own army to make it fit in better, right? They're having fun saying, oh, I'm going to have some undead elves, but I'm not going to buy the skeletons. I'm going to go and take some of my guys, and I'll put, take off their head, put on a skull. I don't have to say a skull head. It's just a skull. Rip off the arms, put on skeleton arms, and actually have a lot of fun converting it. So that's really good news. Luke Davis saying, I agree with you on the idea that a charging unit should get a pretty good bonus, like going first. Think about it. With Cav currently +1 strength, thematically, how are elves stabbing first as the spears come in? I'd like to see an initiative bonus or something on charges. And yeah, a lot of people have talked about a lot of different ways where you could make charges more important. I mean, right now you get +1 combat res, but with all the combat res you get from all the kills, it really is very, very minor. Plus initiative could be good, but then again, if you have the 2 blocks smashing into each other, unless your attacks are reducing the attacks from the other side, it doesn't matter, right? You go first, I go first, who cares? We're still walking through the same doorway. We're still going to be rolling the same number of dice, and it won't change anything. So I almost wonder if they should get rid of the step-up rule. Maybe. Here's the problem with getting rid of the step-up rule. When step-up rule wasn't there, Cav ruled the day. Because the whole idea was, if I could get the charge off, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to hit first. I'm going to kill you. And it was a thing where my blocks, the 25 orcs, were dying all the time to fast cab. Because these fast cab would charge me. They kill 3 models. I'd whiff my stuff going back. I would break, and there I go. I mean, there was no steadfast. So steadfast would kind of counter that. But even then, if I have a big block of orcs and the Chaos Knights come in, they'll charge in. They'll have the initiative. They'll kill guys. We're saying no step up. I have almost no attacks back. And every turn, even without the strength bonus, with their attacks killing my guys before I step up, it'll still kind of continue on. Now, of course, if they kept, let's say they got rid of step up, but they still kept supporting rank attacks, that could kind of mitigate itself. And I mean, we get theory about this all night long. There's so many things they could do. What are they going to do? I don't know. And this is why this weekend will be so exciting to see, is it now? You know, are the people who are saying that 9th is going to be the next thing this year correct, or will it be 2015? And either way, a year from now, we'll kind of know. So it's kind of an exciting time. I still do believe that 8th is in a good spot. 8th with 50% Lords, I don't know. But, yeah, either way, it's good. And thanks for joining us. I'm going to be cutting it off now. Please let me know what you painted. And I'd love to hear from you guys, too, what you think about the perspectives of 9th, what you'd like to see change, what you'd like to see come in new, and we'll see who's right. So either way, there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.